Today's objective is to use mapping diagrams to show the relationship between two data sets. I understand the box isn't as big as it should have been, but just try to write that all in. So I can use mapping diagrams to show the relationship between data sets. Ordered pairs can be used to show inputs and outputs. Okay, so when you have an input that is always going to be your x, so in this case 0, 1, and 2, all three of these values, these are going to be your inputs. 1, 2, and 4, all three of these values, these are going to be your outputs. So that means when you input in 0, your output is 1. When you input is 1, your output is 2. When your input is 2, your output is 4. What is a relation? A relation pairs inputs with outputs. A relation can be represented by ordered pairs or a mapping diagram. So these are ordered pairs. Okay, this is what we call a mapping diagram. So you've dealt with ordered pairs a lot. Now we're going to talk about how to use a mapping diagram, what is a mapping diagram, etc., etc. Okay, so list the ordered pairs shown in the mapping diagram. So basically all you have to do for these is to figure out, just to write them all out, right? Write each relation out. So for example, in this one, it looks like 1 goes to 3, 2 goes to 6, 3 goes to 9, and 4 goes to 12. So if I were to list the ordered pairs, it would be 1, 3, 2, 6, 3, 9, and 4, 12. That's all you have to do. Okay. Next, this one can get a little tricky, right? Because all the lines are like a little bit crisscross, but it shouldn't change how you approach the problem at all. So for example, looks like 0 goes to 0, so it'd be 0, 0. It looks like 2 goes to 1, and 2 goes to -2, right? So it'd be 2, 1, and it'll be 2, -2. Right? Do you see how 2 goes to both 1 and -2? So if that's the case, you have to write it out more than once. Last but not least, it looks like 4 goes to -3. So it'd be 4 to -3. So these are your ordered pairs. Okay. So why don't you do 1 and 2 on your own, and then input your answers onto Edpuzzle. Next, we're going to talk about how to create a mapping diagram. So for this one, it's exactly the same thing, but it's like the opposite of what we just did earlier, right? Before, you were given the mapping diagram and you had to write out the ordered pairs. Now, you're going to be given the ordered pairs and you have to create the mapping diagram. Okay, so for example, what does that mean? Let's take a look at this first example right here. Right? So for this first example right here, 1 goes to 1. So what I would do first, I would write out all of your inputs first. You have 1, 4, 2, and 1. Your outputs are 1, 4, 8, and 6. 1, 4, 8, and 6. Take a look at just your inputs. Take a look at just your outputs. Okay? And do you see any that are repeated? And if there are any that are repeated, okay, then you don't have to write them more than once. So for example, if I were to just take a look at my inputs, right, this I don't need to rewrite because there's already a 1 there. Whoops, I didn't mean to erase it too. So this is what I'm going to write, and I want you to write them in order. So it'd be 2 and then 4, and then it would be 6 and then 8, like this. And then all you have to do is draw your circles that look like this. Okay. And then from here, all you have to do is draw your arrows. So it'd be 1 goes to 1, 4 goes to 4, 2 goes to 8, and then 1 also goes to 6. So it should look like something like this. Okay. And then you could just write inputs above this side and then outputs above this side. All right. And then why don't you do number 3 on your own? For this one, you don't have to, there's no way you could really put this onto Edpuzzle. So I would say just check your answer with the person next to you once they're at this point. And actually, you know what? I'll do this one together. So I'll pause this video right here, and then we'll do from there, okay? So for this one as well, you're going to approach it exactly the same way, okay? So you are going to write out each individual ordered pair, okay? So I'll write a -2, -2, 0, and 3. I have 2, -2, 1, and 1. Any of the repeats, you do not want to write them out. So this is what you should be left with, right? But remember, you have to write them in order. Okay, so if this is what I'm given, I have to write -2, 0, and 3, -2, 1, and 2. So this is what it should look like. Draw a line between -2 and 2. -2, -2, 0, 1, and then 3, 1. So I'm going to use these order pairs to create this mapping diagram. So it should look like the input, output, and this should be your mapping diagram. Okay, all right, moving on. Last example, consider a mapping diagram on the left. Describe the pattern of inputs and outputs in the mapping diagram. So this is, you're just objectively looking at this and seeing what the pattern is. Okay, so for example, it looks like inputs, it goes up by what? Inputs, you can write as inputs increase by 1. Outputs, what does it go up by? Looks like by 15, right? Plus 15 every single time. Increase by 15. That's all you gotta do. As inputs increase by 1, outputs increase by 15. Okay? Now do the same thing with this last one. Submit it on Edpuzzle, and we'll call it a day. Remember to always submit your level of understanding and watch the Edpuzzle all the way for full credit. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Schoology, and I'll respond in a timely manner. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.